The show does not start at 10 a.m. because it is ready. It starts at 10 a.m. because it is 10 a.m. What's up, dude?
I don't know what that means, but what's going on, man?
It's a quote. I was evolving a quote. Walter Cronkite, maybe. I don't know who said that. Some
I
talk show.
I thought it was beautiful, man. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look. Here's the deal. We're committed to the audience. We're committed to going live when we need to go live. But I just set up this camera microphone like 5 seconds ago, so I might take just a small moment to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Well, your lighting looks kind of like shit, but it's getting there. And then the sound sounds good. You are at the office.
lighting.
You've been sleeping at this place, dude.
No, I haven't been sleeping here, but it feels that way. Yeah.
Photos every day. The new
every day. Yeah, every day. Every day. What do you gotta show the people what they want.
Are you what's your progress?
It's progressing.
Did you spend all week on one room?
No.
Okay, good.
No, not all weekend.
I only saw pictures of the one room. I'm like, oh man, he laid the carpet on Wednesday.
Dude, carpet would be sick.
Yeah.
I despise carpet. Sick in a bad way, like the bad kind of sick.
Yeah. Well, you have a cool industrial thing going on, man.
I'm doing my best. It's gonna be good. We're gonna get all the right vibes slowly but surely.
Alex asks, what happened to your background?
I don't know. It died.
Yeah, it's gone. That's about as many books as he reads too. That's a bookshelf. So I appreciate the authenticity you're bringing to the stream.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on though. I gotta shout out my bookshelf because I have a very important book on my bookshelf. I don't know if you can see it in my corner. I'll get it organized at some point. We'll get it there.
Is that Sahil's book?
It's Sahil's book.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I had to rep. I was like, man, there's no way I can take all my books today. What do I do? And I was like, oh, I know. I'll take one book.
Yeah, you guys. Oh yeah, you've been kind of pumping that up, even on the new shout out off menu website launch. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, man. Appreciate that.
I don't know that I've actually seen this thing. Let's take a quick look here. I want to call this out. And then we're going to get into this show that we have a fun one planned today. How long did it take you guys to put this one out? Built with cursor?
Built with cursor. Yeah, built with cursor. I don't know how long it took us to get it out, but it's out. So that's what matters.
How was building this out in cursor?
You're asking me like I know. I don't know.
Who did it?
Petter.
Dude, Petter did some other dope work too. I was going to shout out a little bit later. We'll talk about it. That's awesome, man.
What are we shouting
out? Well done, Petter. I don't know about you, man, but I am like the days are blending together with all of these tool updates. I think we're getting to the point where every single one of these tools is like announcing when they make like some super micro shipment. Like we just released a new change log and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little saturated with some of the stuff, but it has created like a hackathon fever.
Dude, so Bolt is doing $1 million hackathon. Now, it doesn't seem to me that that's $1 million to the winner, if there is a winner, but $1 million nonetheless, right?
I don't know what the structure is for that. So the timeline on this thing's kind of funny. And I was trying to call it out originally, which was like right now, Lovable's got a 10K contest. So they kick off this 10K contest, which is awesome. And it's cool to see that. And you know what? I like that we did the Build Wars thing. And I kind of feel like we stirred the pot on this. And I'm happy to see that it has taken off so well. Lovable did change the rule on this. So everyone's just doing this like really fast. And to be fair, like Build Wars happened really fast. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, we're going to do 10K and here are the rules. Well, then they updated the rules. And apparently the rule changed that some people are a little upset about, which is they are now allowing people to work on this before the scheduled hackathon. And so
And it loses all credibility.
yeah, and so some people have been calling that out. I don't know if they've updated that since I last looked at this. But at one point they had said, should we do a $1 million hackathon? And right around this same time, KP was said, hey, like if I'm the CEO, I would do this thing. I would create this like giant hackathon. Bolt's CEO says, yeah, we'll do it.
Yep.
And this happened in a matter of hours. Like you almost missed it. Like if you blinked, you were going to miss this thing. And then they had the 1 million thing up. It looks like Greg Eisenberg is hosting this, and Levels IO is one of the judges amongst a few others. And I think that's awesome. I love that they're getting like everyone involved. I'm curious to see what comes out of this. I want to see companies get like actually go to market out of these things. That would be sick. That would, I think, turn things up a little bit. But you're seeing this from everybody, right? Like you're seeing like even Levels is going on to do, and this one's cool to me. He's doing this game jam. And I think they're getting sponsors involved now, but like there was no prize other than kind of street cred, and I think they're trying to bring stuff to it. It's happening really organically. People are already submitting. My son, I just hooked him up with Windsurf. I got him a subscription there. I hooked him up with Windsurf. He's been using Unity, and now he's using Windsurf and Unity, and he's like building a full game right now. He's kind of already had some familiarity with this, and then like I showed him because he was kind of using ChatGPT, and I'm like, I can't let you live like this anymore. And so I spent an hour. I showed him how to do it, and that's all he's been doing all spring break.
Dude, I love it.
He burned 500 tokens in the first 48 hours. I was like, there we go.
That's how you know that you're like lost in the sauce. You know, dude, I don't know. I'm excited about all of these. I'm excited about all the things that they're doing, but at the same time, I don't know. I worry that something, I don't know. It feels to me like there's a general sense of credibility that's going to get lost in terms of you know, what is the efficacy or the seriousness of these tools, which is disappointing. Because it's all becoming so vibe codey and game like. In some ways, I worry that making everything a challenge or a spectacle, it loses the weight of what these tools can actually do.
I think that's true. I totally think that's true. I will also say the thing that I do appreciate about this, because I think this is just kind of actually, that'd be kind of cool if these things get a lot more normalized moving forward. But the thing that I do appreciate about it is it just gives a high volume of people the opportunity to publicly push these tools to their limits. Yeah. And I think that that's going to have good positive effects on how much better these tools can get. Because they're going to be like, look at all these ways people are pushing these things and breaking these things. And I think it's a good place to be right now. I do think we're going to get tired of hearing about them. But I don't think people are going to get tired of participating in them who are like, you know, super users.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
I will. Can I say something though, man?
No.
I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I love, and someone tweeted, I either solve a coding problem, and save myself 20 minutes with AI, or I waste 5 hours. And I was like, dude, I've never felt more seen in my life. And the truth is, I'm really starting to appreciate the limitations of where we're at right now with the AI coding tools. I'm getting to the place where, to be really satisfied, I'm using these projects. I'm taking longer to build what I want to build because I'm like building myself tutorial documentation off of the technical PRDs I generate. Yeah. And I go and I just like start implementing things myself, as though like the old days when like I was, you know, following a Wes Bose tutorial or something. Because at least to that end, it forces me to go through and have a much better understanding of how things are being connected, you know?
I think that's fair. It makes a lot of sense. You know, I think there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with these tools in terms of laying the groundwork, like the way the rules work with the MCP integrations, and just being able to kind of compile context and understand, if I spend maybe a day or less, half a day, let's say, like really compiling context, making sure that I've got good PRDs, I've got good tech, implementation documents, and I use MCPs to kind of build out my checklists that I can follow, things like that. I feel like you set yourself up in a really great spot. But what's that? I think the guy's name was like Leo or something. Oh man, I wish we had the tweet pulled up. But that guy that went kind of viral because he built something with Cursor. He vibe coded his way into releasing something to prod, but he didn't actually put his API keys in a .env file. People were like abusing his API tokens and requests and costing him a ton of money. And it's like, oh man, that really is kind of the dark side of this is these people that are just going to be like, I can just start chatting and build something really quickly and just hit, deploy on Vercel, and I've got something out there, and they skip so many of the important fundamentals.
And there's actually a couple examples of people who've reported this who are having issues. So like you look at this, and the guy, I don't know if the same .dev guy that we talked about last week, who is now getting his website's completely flagged by all security vendors as being like malicious. Yeah. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's because people were like using the tool to create phishing sites, and those sites got, I'm not sure. But you're starting to see like, oh shit, the unintended consequences of moving extremely fast. And so Jack here, this might have been the guy you were talking about, but I feel like someone actually made a thread of a bunch of like, oh shit, I shipped some slop and now I have a giant bill, or a bunch of stuff is compromised. Actually, did you see what Lovable posted?
No.
Lovable made they released a little cool tool yesterday, and it was pretty nifty. I'm trying to remember what the tool was. They're like, hey, here's a little tool. It wasn't for their domains. They had it there for a second. And if you went and used it, someone in the comments said, hey, just so you know, your Supabase API key is completely exposed. And they deleted the tweet. I was going to talk about it here.
Lovable's API key was exposed?
Their Supabase API key was exposed, or it was one of the credentials. Something was exposed. I think it was the key or a credential. They did respond and say, actually, that's fine. That's like the public. And they made it, but then they deleted the tweet. They're like, wait, actually, oops, that's not a good look. Oh, and man. I just thought that was pretty, like, that's about right. Like, that's where we're at right now. Like, that's about right. These companies are moving extremely fast, which I think, I'm for it. But they're kind of putting their mouth a little bit, doing some stuff. And it's kind of fun, man. Like, I love this little Wild West on X right now.
I think people talk a lot about Lovable, but I want to look this up before I put my foot in my mouth. I feel like everybody's talking about Lovable, but really behind the scenes, it feels to me that Bolt is the silent killer. Like they're older, they're more mature. It's spun out of Stack Blitz. I bet their growth is off the charts. They've raised 105 million in their latest round, right? And it's interesting to me because Lovable was like, oh, what if it was $1 million? Or KP said that, and then Lovable was like, oh, maybe, blah blah blah. And then the Bolt CEO was like, nah, done, $1 million, let's go. And it was kind of like, sit down, kid, I got this. Let the grown-ups handle this. And I thought that was a pretty baller move. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
As I'm like paying attention to all this, and I'm like, man, we're talking about Bolt and Lovable every week. Sorry, guys. It's just a lot of stuff happening, keeping up with it. We're not hearing from Replit. We're not hearing from V0 lately. I mean, Vercel just announced Vercel Ship, their community event. A lot of companies getting into the community play here, which I think is smart. But we're not really hearing the hype stuff around V0 right now, or Replit, or some of these others. And I'm like, dude, I bet one of these guys is just fucking cooking right now. You know what I mean?
Replit for sure.
Yeah. And I'm really curious to see, because like right now we're having fun. We're seeing these companies kind of like scrap it out, but I will not be surprised to see someone just like kick the door down and be like, yeah, you guys didn't know it, but we're right here and look at this.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vercel, yeah, we got Jhey Tompkins joining us today, and I'm such a fan. I think his work is sick. True design engineer at Vercel, and I'll walk you through his code pen later. But that thing is like a museum to the art of CSS. So we're just gonna shoot the shit with him, and I'm stoked for that. That's gonna be on the second half of the hour, and then in the meantime, we're gonna work with Hunter's new setup in the Chicago office.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. I gotta go. I'm out of town next week, so I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna have so much to do in terms of getting all this stuff finished. But I got my bookcase built. Okay, that's what matters.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed, man. So you're getting all this done. You're not going to be wrapped up by the end of this week, huh? This is just going to keep going on next week, or are you just putting it on pause?
Yeah, today. I mean, today we're getting the rest of the desk built, which are pretty baller. I'm super happy with how they turned out. So we're getting the rest of the desk built and some other little details, and then a little after that, we'll start kind of finishing up some stuff. It'll be largest like little details from there. The kit studios are well on their way. I think those open to the public on like March 31st, so the Monday after next.
You got that's sick, man. I can't wait to come out there and I'm gonna run around the office like a little kid at Costco or something.
It's good, dude. I haven't shared the kitchen yet. The kitchen is epic.
I'll spend a lot of time in the kitchen, so
yeah,
it's good.
It's gonna be.
Are you fully embracing windsurf? By the way, are you like there's like there's starting to be a sense of shifting of cursor maybe not being quite as popular as windsurf is becoming.
I'll tell you what it is. It feels like windsurf is doing things with more craft and care. Like if you thought about cursor versus windsurf and you compared it to here's a comparison. Windsurf is linear and cursor is Jira, right? Cursor is bigger. They got more users. They've got more funding. It feels like from a business perspective, they got the world by the balls, but they don't necessarily have the same level of polish that linear does, right? Now that Ryo Lu is there at Cursor, will that change? Here's my hot take. I think Ryo Lu is incredibly talented from everything I can see. Okay. But what the fuck is Notion's design?
Keep that same energy when he joins us in a few weeks.
Dude, I will, right? Like there are so many thoughtful things in Notion, but when you think about the broader picture of it, it's like, fuck, man, like there's too much. Like, how can I just do one thing really, really well in Notion? And it doesn't feel like it can do any one thing really well better than a competitor, for example, right? In the aggregate, sure, right? But the fact that you can still create a Notion page and then your database is wider than the page and the page doesn't scroll horizontally, but the Notion database does. And then you have this jink thing to where you have like fixed width here and then scrolling section here in the table. I can't.
I just saw this today too, and I was thinking about it. Notion is a terrible product. I'm sorry, guys. I really enjoy Notion. I think Notion is a fantastic product. I will admit, I didn't like Notion the first time I tried it. I ditched it. I came back later. Made a lot of sense. There are things that aren't perfect, but man, I'm a fan. I am a fan.
I know you're a fan, man.
I'll pitch them all day.
Let's see. I'm gonna hit this real quick.
What do you got?
Go to CSS. Will join us today. Yep, Jhey Tompkins later today. He's coming in at top of the hour. So 1 p.m. Central. Companies are so bad at marketing. It's just scrappy content. Agreed.
You want to talk about some bad marketing? We'll get to that.
Yeah. Agreed, Ethan. I mean, both themselves, or not both, Lovable came out themselves and said that the Build Wars was their biggest day, right? So maybe you could say they're good at marketing for that, but can they replicate that over and over again? No. I know that they've been just absolutely blowing up Brett's inbox, and he's just publicly said, like, I'm not fucking doing it. I won. I proved my point. I'm not doing it. Might be more to that than we know, but what it is. Replic's closest to being able to build real apps right now. Agreed. I think that's entirely fair. Hunter, can we get a wrist check? Yep, there you go. Wrist check.
Hey.
Team anti-notion. There we go, Zach. I agree with that. All right. What is this?
Yeah.
Fossilship.
Well, and so kind of on that note though, one of the things we were talking about, like with this bad marketing, all these hackathons, the other thing I'll give these companies is I appreciate everybody from, I mean, we just talked to Sahil a few weeks ago, Gumroad, they're regularly doing these hackathons, and he's been on like this hackathon thing since last year. I think he's been running these like at their New York office pretty frequently. And he's big on it. He's like, AI should bring the concept of hackathons to other industries. We just talked about Lovable and Bolt's hackathons in Vercel, everything that's going on. These are examples of companies that understand the same way I think Framer gets it, is they just keep the dialogue happening. Product-led growth in this space, I think, is a big benefit for a lot of these guys. But actually investing into the people, like getting Levels and Greg to help host your contest versus just having a contest at your company, like that's a difference maker. Meanwhile, did you see this like Solana commercial they're putting out that they quickly
Dude, I haven't
deleted?
seen the commercial.
Yeah,
I
you guys
haven't
got to
seen it.
check it out, man. They're really like this. They're really leaning into like the current government in power. They're really leaning into the current politics, pushing back, and it's posturing, man. It was silly. They got so much backlash, and in
Dude, I want to see
addition to
it.
that, you get Dribble. You get Dribble come out with the policy. Now, Dribble's
Oh my
easy to
god.
pick on, dude. Dribble is so fucking easy to pick on because they just absolutely fumbled something that should have been like a slam dunk. They absolutely fumbled this whole thing that they were building early on. And so it's easy to just be like, ha ha, you fucking idiots again. I'll be honest, like this whole policy they're putting in place, like I don't even think this is that bad of an idea. Like I don't think it's that crazy or outlandish. I understand why people don't love this model, but the fact that it's Dribble, it's like a tone deafness, and so everybody's saying, "Oh, goodbye, I'm gone." And you get like you actually got Dan Petty. I don't know if you saw this, moving pretty quickly. It seems like building a portfolio platform, and this is the kind of thing I think makes a lot of sense. Community plays by people who are like leaders in the community, and that's what I think a lot of companies don't get, like the ones we just mentioned, and then companies do. I wanted to call something out because I know big part of our design audience, ADP List, which is a venture-backed mentorship platform. It's kind of been in some hot water. This is another example of these communities just not getting it. Their whole thing is built on top of the design community, like mentors participating. You're pretty familiar with ADP List, yeah?
No idea what it is.
No, it's a mentorship platform. Like, hey, design mentors come on in. Hey, young designers come and schedule time, and there's like a social thing there. But there's no like paid incentive on that side. And he's been stealing a bunch of content, so there's all these allegations that come out, and he's really not responding a lot. He just tweets that hurt people, and it just becomes this whole thing. And it's like, dude, how do people just screw up community so hard? Like, I'm such a big advocate of where community is going. When you think about your products, like the stuff you're going to ship later this year, next year, you put any weight on community?
It's tough to say. I think for everything that we're doing right now, no, right? Because most of it's service driven. But I don't know though. Like, it's important that you are. I'll take off menu for example. That's easiest for me to talk about, right? It's important that off menu is well respected in the design community, right? And it is. Like, a lot of people respect off menu. They respect the work that off menu puts out. They know that if off menu is going to do something, it's going to be quality, and there's a level of respect there, and I think that's super important. So you definitely want to be admired by the community. I think in any business, you want the industry of your peers to be like, "Yep, they're up to good stuff." But does that make or break the business from a dollar standpoint? Not necessarily, right? If you're Dribble, abso-fucking-lutely. And while you were talking, man, I was like, I wonder I wonder what this looks like, because previously I'd taken a look at Tiny's K1. So everybody that doesn't know what a K1 is, if you're a public company, you have to publicly disclose all your financials, and typically they'll do a K1 report, which is a long filing, so any interested investors can kind of see what the performance of the company is like. This is not their K1. This is just third quarter results for 2024. But if we pull in here, okay, Q3 2024, decline of just under 4 million in revenue from 2023 to 2024 for the same quarter, right? For Q3. Here's where it gets really interesting though. Let's go ahead and go down here and take a look at their revenue breakdown between recurring and non-recurring revenue. Okay. So recurring revenue actually grew a little bit, not a lot, but it grew. So they grew recurring revenue 100,000 from Q3 2023 to Q3 2024. They had a pretty big decline of non-recurring revenue and an overall decline in revenue across the board. But as far as Tiny's portfolio is concerned, I believe that the only products they have that would fall under that recurring revenue bucket are going to be Dribble and WooCommerce, I think. Right. So Dribble, or not WooCommerce, excuse me, Dribble, Creative Market. Yeah, I mean, looking at those are the only real businesses in here that are going to fall into that recurring bucket. We work remotely. I think they just did a whole like pivot and change up in the business. Obviously, MetaLab is like the silent killer in their portfolio. It's interesting to me that I don't see AeroPress here.
Yeah, that is interesting. Oh, they're right there.
Well, that's in the Tiny fund. I know that Tiny acquired Letterbox. They acquired AeroPress. But it's interesting that they're not a part of Tiny Limited, but whatever. So, I mean, all that to say,
is Pixel Union not a recurring generator? You don't think? Isn't Pixel Union a marketplace?
Maybe, but I doubt that it's taking up a large share of that 9 million.
So what do you think, Andrew and their team's just like taking giant loss leading swings or what?
I think that I would bet that Creative Market is pulling up the majority of that revenue. I have some rough numbers on what Dribble's revenue was, but I don't want to share because I don't want to I don't want to throw my source under the bus. But it's not a lot. It's not as big as you would think it is. And so my guess is that they see that Dribble's a sinking ship and they're trying to figure out how to extract every dollar that they can. And it feels like they're doing it all the wrong ways.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, what do you do? What do you do if you're in charge? Like, you take that over. Would you take over Dribble for free?
No. The last thing that I would want to do is be beholden to a community of designers. It's like the last thing. That is the last fucking thing I would want, man. I don't even know how much it would take to pay me to run Dribble.
Oh, that's funny. What would be worse, a community of designers or a community of developers? Yes.
Dude, yes.
Because speaking of the community of developers, man, Cursor dropping a Cursor community now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, telling you this community stuff, it's like it's everywhere.
Dude, can we retire Cook?
We don't like the word cooking.
Can we just retire? Can we go ahead and retire both vibe coding and Cook?
Yeah, the vibe coding is going to stick around for a little bit. I'm down for the cooked. You know what I like? When people are just doing good work, they're just cracked. The kids taught me that. I pick up my kids' lingo a lot. They make me feel like I'm not getting old.
Dude, cracked was around when you and I were young.
Yeah, some of these words, they make a comeback. They do definitely make a comeback. But like, dude, this is what I'm talking about. You want to talk about cooking and being cracked and these community plays? Soren did this commercial, Soren and his team, and he's in this Figma commercial. It's a Figma Slides commercial. I didn't even know Figma Slides had new updates. That's great, I
Yeah.
guess.
So is Iverson a fucking ad agency?
Dude, they're like, they do a lot of stuff. And they're doing a lot of dope shit. I can't wait for him to, yeah, everything he's sharing, the Duolingo stuff. They did this commercial in 1 week, and this is actually a pretty good commercial. Like, I'm pretty impressed. This is not bad. This is an entertaining piece of creative. And then there's
What did they do
Soren.
with Duolingo?
They did some animation work, some animation media, and so they have, yeah. Apparently, they're doing a lot of like media work.
So they're not like designing products.
They are also designing product. He released a showcase of a whole product design they did just last month, if I'm not mistaken. And then Soren is working on, Stompers on the side, the product he's got. It's crazy, man. And so he does this commercial for Figma. By the way, dude, I look at people like Soren who are just killing it. Well, so Config's coming up, and we're talking about communities and Figma. I really am going to constantly say, come to Config. It's a flash pan moment. Like, I don't think the thing that makes Config interesting is going to be around forever. But they do just cultivate like a lot of, we said we don't want to be beholden to designers, but there is something about being with a bunch of design nerds in San Francisco that's actually kind of fun to me. Probably your nightmare. But we have a good time, and so we throw an after party, and I've got I'll talk about this in a second, but I've got Jesse Showalter, Soren Iverson, and Femke. We're throwing this party May 7th. So if you are going to Config, please come check this out. We sold out super quick last year. We're probably going to sell it pretty quick this year, but this is not like a networking event. I put down some wine. Come join us. But the one thing I found interesting about Config, and I'm curious if you read into this at all, they have something like 80 talks happening, and 5 of those have anything to do with AI. I think 2 of these talks are from Figma. And so I found it interesting that like there's really not a lot of chatter that they're encouraging around the AI topic at these talks. Someone made a good point. They're like, well, right now, a lot of the conferences, it's just like AI this, AI that. And I'm like, okay, I could see that maybe being annoying if like every talk felt like it was about AI. But I wonder also if that's indicative of something they're planning to announce.
I don't know how I feel about that, man.
About what?
About the lack of conversations regarding AI at Config, and then the idea of Figma launching an AI. So, okay, let me ask you this. What do you think a great AI design tool from Figma would look like? Or how do you think that they integrate AI into Figma? And what does that even fucking mean? Like an AI design tool?
To me, this is hard. So this is a working opinion. This is not like a hard something I think that the idea of using generative AI to create assets inside of Figma as it is today just feels like a Rube Goldberg machine. It just feels like, oh, look it, like I can do more like behind the line production work that still really doesn't mean a lot. I'm way more interested in like, how is Figma thinking about solving the implementation gap? That's what I want to know. And so if you ask me like, what do I think it looks like if they use AI in interesting ways? Well, first it's like, well, how do they fix the fact that they've like walled themselves outside of being able to publish to code? Like, how do they do that? That's what I think I want to see. I want to see a lot more of that, because the fact that we still have to have like developer designer handoffs, that just feels like it's going to eventually be such a dated thing. I can't wait for that problem to just be non-existent.
So what you're saying is that you think the best way for Figma to be an AI quote unquote design tool is if everything I do on the canvas produces code.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, you literally don't need to do anything else to change the interface. Just make it to where it generates really clean code, and that auto layout and components, those are code.
And that's what I wrote about this week in the newsletter, was because we're talking about lovables and framers and a lot of these like newer tools now with all the hype, but there's still like a missing component. And to me, I personally would really like to see a couple different executions of a visual editor that also allows me to look under the hood in a way that hasn't been executed before, or just in a way that's really good. Did see Play's announcement. I thought that was really interesting too. I actually feel bad that I haven't given Play enough time, because I think the prototyping world of Play is a very interesting thing. Have you played with Play at all, Hunter?
I've never used it.
Something we'll have to look into. But the tools that are really interesting right now to me are some of these quiet movers, the tempo labs, the subframe. Magic Patterns is doing interesting things. I think their product needs work, but I think the thing they're indexing on is more interesting right now, which is front end. And I think like we've talked with Paper, and Dan Petty was even talking about Paper yesterday, and we got the demo a while back. And it's like, that to me feels like where this is going to inevitably go.
Yeah. And you and I are getting a demo of an unknown design tool after the show today.
So, I don't know if we're talking about that.
We can't say who, but we're getting a demo of something.
I'm stoked for that. And so like, this is where I'm at with tools, is I'm just so excited about this. I'm kind of tired of the people who are like, designers and developers. We still need taste, and we still need intuition and critical thinking. Not that I disagree with any of that. I just think that like that take is guarded on time and ad nauseum right now. Like, we hear that all the time. I don't think we need to continue to say that. I think what's being discounted though is just the absolute barrier breaking that's happening with these upcoming tools.
Yeah, like I think whoever first figures out how to give someone an infinite canvas, but some way to specify this is a page, or this is a component, or this is an interaction, and then allow me to generate really great code that I can configure, right? I need the ability to say like, hey, this is Next.js, or this is Vite, or I'm using Tailwind, or I'm not using Tailwind, right? Or even the ability to say, hey, like, I'm going to go build out, I'm going to use ShadCN as my base. And so boom, I have a canvas of all the ShadCN components. And okay, now I'm going to go and I'm going to customize these to how I want. And that's my component library in Figma. And now I'm going to design with them. And it's taking that code and using it over and over again and giving me something really scalable. And then I can easily move from that canvas to my cursor or my windsurf or whatever it is. And I think that's success,
Yeah. And I think it was interesting for me to see my son playing with Unity's IDE, like their whole app that you would build in, and then moving between that and windsurf. And it was just cool for me to be like, yeah, like it's too bad he can't just prompt inside of the visual editor, because that's kind of what he's just moving over there to do visual editing activities. Then he's moving over to the editor to do coding activities. And it's like, yeah, that's going to coexist. People are going to have like just marginally different versions of how they tackle that UX. And one of those is probably going to be significantly better for it. You know what I mean? So I just want to see like the shotgun variations that people come out with, because I really think that's how we're going to be doing it.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I'm telling you, man, like, we're going to talk with Jhey today. And I'm really interested to see how he at Vercel is actually tackling a lot of this stuff, because he'll come into these threads of the like prompt things into existence, and he'll just drop a quick hand-coded, a code penned version. He's like, actually, you can just do this in a few lines of code or something. And then he'll like peace out. And I'm like, that's awesome. And it's funny because it's not that he's saying AI is bad, but sometimes he'll like push against it, because he'll be like, still, you should probably code a little bit. and which is
Yeah.
an interesting take from him as a Vercel design engineer. So I'm curious to hear about that from him.
Yeah, what are we gonna have him do? Like, we got to have him show us something. You know,
Yeah,
we got to see some sauce.
yeah. I want to know.
Have you plotted that out yet?
No, I mean we have some questions, but I do want to know how he comes up with. He does like these playground activities, man. Like how do you think through a component is what I want to ask him. Like when you're like, I need to create this, because a lot of the things he'll create are very interactive. And I love that because I'm thinking about that for the UX tools rebrand. We're trying to be very simple in certain areas of how we display the content, but we do
Mhm.
want like one heavy interactive piece. And it's like when you build that, like what is the process that you go through? How would you accomplish that? Like it's pretty cool that your guys' website off menu,
Mhm.
built-in cursor, you guys were able
Mhm.
to achieve like multiple areas that seem to have beyond out of the box um interactions of sorts that were pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, but cursor's an IDE at the end of the day. It's VS
Yes.
Code, right? So when I say built-in cursor, like cursor is just the IDE that we used, right? Most of that was still done by hand.
Okay, okay.
Now,
That
most of
is
it,
fair.
yeah, most of it was done by hand, but certainly I would say, like, I'll put it this way. Was cursor agent used more or was tab used more? The answer is tab, right? So the
Mhm.
majority of it was done, um, by a human being sitting there writing code. But honestly, dude, I'll tell you this: we've been working in Webflow and Framer for years. Like if I was to open our Webflow account, like it's just flooded with projects. Um, it's so funny how much better it is to just fucking use actual code. Like I don't know, man. I feel like one of the greatest things of all these AI driven development tools coming out is like they kind of reminded us of like, oh yeah, like code is great. Like I can literally hit like, fetch in GitHub. I can open a file. I can change a couple things real quick, push to origin, and it's instantly deployed. I don't have to like
Mhm.
get in Webflow and worry about this or worry about like, oh, Petter's in Webflow right now. Like, hey man, let me know when you're out of the designer so I can get in there. Or like, let me open Framer and then do this one little weird thing to view the component over here, like whatever it is. I just open the fucking code. I change a couple things. I
Yeah.
move on with my day. Right. Yesterday, I noticed something was wrong. Somebody sent me a bug. I was like, oh, hold on, guys. I walked to my office. I opened my laptop. I opened the code base. Ding, ding, ding. Push, fixed. And I was able to solve the problem faster than I could fucking log into, Webflow, open the project, do this, do that. And then it's just so much better.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and
much better.
that's what I've been finding out too, and it's really helped me, like, learn about things, like, even the whole, like, dialogue happening right now with app router versus page router. I'm like, "Man, like, this really speaks to me," because I've had these issues with Next.js using app router, and I'm like, "Why does my shit load kinda janky sometimes?" Have you had that happen?
No,
You'll have,
because I
like, a
know how to
page
use app
load and,
router.
like, elements in the nav will kinda, like, stack just like a split second after an element, certain elements will just load in a little bit differently, and I don't totally understand why, but I guess the thinking here is app router handles it a little bit slower, whereas page router is still kind of like a pretty tried and true system.
Well, you have to use app router and then you need to use either React Query or SWR.
Okay.
And then you want to prefetch those things. You like, yeah, that is the thing that people don't understand is like to get these things to be really snappy to load well, you have to prefetch a lot of stuff. You have to manage your cache. You have to query information. Like for example, if you're going to load a page, and let's say I load a page that has a document in it, and that document has a link. As soon as I open that initial document, I also have to go ahead and prefetch that link. That way, if the user clicks that, right, that is already fetched and it loads quickly. So there's a lot of just like state management that you have to do that I frankly don't think there's any amount of vibe coding that will help somebody that doesn't know anything about state management
Yeah.
um, solve their problems.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like when I want to do something like that, and I'm like, hey, I need you to write up like a sick tutorial for like phase 1 or step 1.2 in our PRD. And it really helps me understand the decision making behind a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Um,
Asking the question of like, what am I missing? right? Like,
Yeah.
what have I not accounted for in this experience that would lead to, simple stuff of like, hey, I want to make sure that if I open a page and there's a link within that page and I click that link, that opens instantly. Like, what am I missing? Yeah, I think you just have to dive deep and educate yourself.
I think there's a whole thing to be said, and it's interesting because I'm seeing myself do this for my kids as I'm trying to teach them like how cool these tools are. But there's something to be said to just, and I've seen like a couple of people talk about this. A lot of us are talking about, hey, like I can build all this stuff and ship really quickly. But actually, like something, and maybe this isn't necessary super far from now, but at least right now, being able to set up a way to learn through these tools, like, hey, I'm actually teaching myself what I need to be doing here is like a superpower to me right now. Like that to me is just such an unlock for someone who kind of really struggled with code for a large part of my career. Like I got through, but I've never been pleased where I was. And
Yeah.
this is like pushing through some of that, like that barrier for me. So
Dude, it's what we
we'll have
talked
to like
about.
build something around that one day.
Yeah, it's what we talked about months ago, which is like, never in human history has there been a greater time to be a curious person who's also like high agency and resourceful.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no limit to what you can learn. There's no limit to the things that you can do right now with technology, right? Or if you want to be old school and you want to build crazy ass bookcases with your bare hands, like maybe it was a dick response, but the guy yesterday was like, "Oh, where'd you buy those?" And I sent him a photo of my hand. But like, I think that there's just, I don't know, man, it's awesome. It's just, I'm
Yeah.
excited every day.
Well, and so I have a question for you, and it kind of relates to this. Like everything we're talking about, there are different kind of philosophies or things that people are clearly subscribing to on how to approach all this new era stuff. And us being UX tools, and then even you and I with Made By, we really want to speak to the fact that like the people we're really thinking this stuff will resonate with have this mindset. There's someone in here who says, like, I wish I could spend a day with Hunter. I would have a totally mental shift, right? And I think that's the kind of thing we want to foster is people who are like, hey, like I'm thinking this way, and I want to be around the people that are thinking this way because we're going to be the ones exploring all this shit. What do you think about manifestos, and not the spooky kind? I mean, like, so Rare Days, an agency I've worked with, good friends, highly recommend. They just dropped this rebrand, which the rebrand is sick. There's so many cool details here.
Yeah.
They lead with Tonner Jackson's agency. They lead with a kind of manifesto, a philosophy of things.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about doing this too with UX tools because we have kind of an opinion about the landscape of design tools. And I was like, I wonder if even Made By would benefit. What do you think of this type of branding, like especially in this area?
I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, the off menu site that we had for the longest had a letter on it. I think that I genuinely mean this. Anytime going forward that I launch something new, and I'm launching a site to the world for the first time for a new brand, or a company that nobody's ever kind of seen before, I'll have a letter. I'll have some manifesto of like, why this? What is this? Why do we have it? Why does it matter? Building that and making it front and center so people understand, man. I think I think it's huge. I think it's just the best thing you can do.
Ah, you're a fan. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You like putting them like front and center on the website is
Yep.
too. Yeah.
I do. Yep.
Okay. That's something I've been thinking about. I'm about to show, so I am moving forward with Nick Pattison, who is just a monster of a talent on the rebrand for UX tools. I call it the Jason Fried. Nice.
That's right. They did it first with Hey. Yeah. And they crushed it.
Absolutely.
Or not Hey, with Once.
Yeah, that open source model is wild that they do. Once, what's the book one? Workbook?
No.
Like they created I actually thought this was pretty sick, and I'm kind of bummed I never had another chance to use it. Like a really easy way to just create digital books. And I was like, that's awesome. And it looked like
That's pretty sick.
Pretty clever little product. He's a big advocate for manifestos like this, see Basecamp. Yeah, I guess that is true. I think Basecamp is one of the first ones I saw really execute that.
Yeah, I think
well.
when they rolled out the new that once site like 2 years ago or something like that, that was the first time that I think anybody had ever seen like such a thoughtfully written founder letter on the homepage of the site. It was just really well done.
Well, even Basecamp, they kind of had like that old landing page that was beige and is one of my favorite landing pages still. They just had a different thought process on how work should be collaborated on around and
Yeah,
managed, and they kind of
yeah,
shared that. I always thought that
yeah.
was cool. Um, yeah, man. I don't know. I'm a fan of this stuff. This rebrand project is nuts, and I'm nervous about it. But I will be sharing that with you guys next week. So we'll see how that goes.
Next week? Hell yeah, man.
Next week, dude.
That's great.
Yeah. When you get back from vacation?
Like Saturday, next Saturday. I'll just be gone for the week, for the weekdays.
Are you able to unplug during vacations, or do you get stressed?
I don't get stressed. I don't know, man. I typically am still like working on stuff. This one, because when I get back, I got to finish. I got to come tackle all this stuff and lighting and the filming, and I got to start YouTube. So my goal while I'm on vacation is to have some quiet time to like get the YouTube stuff ready, get the made by, well, let me rephrase, get the release notes, newsletter stuff ready, and just like start cooking on content. That's kind of my big focus.
Yes, that is
And then we're
awesome.
also kicking off a new sprint to do something new on the 31st. We're doing a 3-month sprint. So gotta get ready for all
Product
that.
sprint.
Yep.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yep.
Are you feeling like getting into like quarter 2 years, kind of like dusting the cobwebs off of a slow start, or what?
Yeah, dude, I do. Yeah, because I felt like so much of the year was like fucking just hung up on like when are we getting into the space, right? Like having
Yeah.
the quiet. And dude, I haven't had any time yet, but like Monday, Tuesday, one of the days, maybe Monday. No, it was
Okay.
Tuesday. Tuesday, I was able to actually sit in the space unfinished, but sit at my desk with internet, nobody else here. I was able to like get the Sonos speakers installed and just sit at my desk and work for a whole day. And I was like, yeah, this is good. This is
Yeah,
nice.
man. It sometimes
So
feels good because like I get ambitious and I'll schedule sometimes more meetings than I should have, and I'm like, fuck, man. I want like a day of just
yeah,
deep work, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Um, dude, so Petter's over there coding too. I saw him drop this as well. So you said he built the website,
yeah.
and then he's just like building little Figma plugins on the side too. He's locked in, huh?
He's locked in. Yeah,
That is awesome, dude. This is cool. I was messing around building a Framer plugin last night just to experiment. That process is really easy
yeah,
with Anthropic. Like it's in Windsurf. It's very, very easy. So I don't know if anyone's but like I know like Nandi releases lots of Framer plugins and components. Fonts has done a few.
yeah.
And I've always wanted to look at it. Their docs, they have such good documentation. I just haven't done it. And last night I was like, let me do this. I had it spun up in like 15 minutes. I was like, oh my God.
Dude, I gotta be honest with you. I didn't even know Peter built this.
That's sick though. Like I saw this and I'm like, I
this is
have
my
to,
this is my first time seeing it.
you know, and it's like it's a simple tool, but it's like, hell yeah. He probably was like, you know what, I'm kind of like dealing with this issue. Can I just like throw this together real quick? And I've
Yeah,
actually done that. Like I've built really ugly or just like half-baked little products, but they did the thing and the output existed afterwards, and then I could throw the thing away. I don't have to worry about it. I just needed the output. And that's a
yeah,
lot of like the 3JS effects, or I'm sorry, the WebGL effects, or like if you're doing 3JS, you can get a lot of that. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of too. A lot of designers doing that. That's
yeah.
funny.
Pretty sick.
But um how familiar are you with Jhey?
Pretty familiar, man. I look at a lot of the stuff he posts. Big fan of. I think that like he seems to be one of the guys that does the best with just showing up with ridiculous work time and time again.
How much time do you have to play, to
None.
experiment? Like, and you were talking about, we were both talking about the deep flow states. When you have those opportunities, do you like, how much of that is like, I'm intentionally trying to get this thing done and I'm racing to get it done? And how much is that like, I'm just gonna kind of fuck around and see what I make here?
Yeah, I think you're giving me too much credit. I spend zero time being creative in that sense. Like all of my time is to do
But, like
something
problem solving a thing.
money focused. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I give
Yeah.
myself a lot of time to
Wait.
fuck around with like ideas and reading and researching and like watching a shit ton of like different content. And trying to kind of like scratch around of like how might we do this thing. But very, very little time for like the creative execution of it.
Well, yeah, man. When you have people like Petter on your team, it's such an unlock to have. I've even come to find this, like, having other designers in the room to talk through ideas. I don't know how it happened, but I just find myself surrounded by some of the craziest talent. Like, I'm looking around and I'm like, dude, these guys are so freaking talented. And anytime I have conversations with any of them, just like, hey, can I run an idea by you? I leave just like fucking juiced up, man, like ready.
Yeah.
I've got like 3 ideas and a different way to explore a thing. It's like such an unlock. It makes me almost say, dude, if I could find somebody who was so like way better designer than me, I would probably just love to have them on the team and delegate.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, gotta grow, dude.
You got to what?
Gotta grow.
I know, man. And how big though? How big? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Enough to afford.
How
crazy
big do you want it? How big do you want to get? Like, what's the largest you'd be interested in growing any of your businesses? Like before you'd be like, I'm kind of chill there. Have you
in
thought
terms
about
of
that?
people?
Yeah.
Ooh. So I've whittled.
In terms of like people problems, you know?
Yeah. So I've whittled. So we have what's called the core team, and then the like expanded team. So the expanded team are people that are often like embedded, right? So landed has a lot of expanded team members. So there's a ton of people over there, but I don't manage any of them. In terms of the people that are on the core team, we've whittled it down from well over a dozen to 4, or no, 3. So my biggest focus is like, how do I shrink that? Like, to be honest with you, like I want to deal with as few people as possible.
Yeah.
I want to deal with as few people as possible and really focus on having a tiny team that's doing really big things. That's the real thing.
So how are you thinking about making new team additions? Like, when are you like, this is a worthwhile time to make a team addition?
Honestly, I'm not right now.
I was gonna say, or are you even like you're just going in the complete opposite direction, that you're looking for more reasons to be like, I can eliminate the need for that.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna do some hiring again soon for off menu. But in terms of the service businesses, I still consider that to be expanded team, right? Like you have to again think of like, what is a business that assembly owns and operates that has customers, and that's going to be service based. But at the assembly level of the venture studio and what we're thinking about building next and how that whole process works, I want that team to be as small as possible. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna need people like Petter and Jhey on that team. These guys who
Dude,
can
right?
code, design, market.
Hunter has a bookshelf for all the books. I'll just summarize instead.
Welcome to the club, Devin. You're about an hour late.
He's an hour late because Brett decided to go live at the same time with some like design tutorial, and Devin was over there hanging out with his best buddy Brett watching the tutorial.
Their show, Dan Petty and Brett's show, went live on Wednesday, and man, that production quality of all those visuals makes me jealous. It's so nice.
It was really good. It was really good.
I thought it was good. And I love the fact that there are just more and more of designers putting their thoughts out there doing this, man. I'm a big fan of this. I like what I'm trying to tell people. I'm like, dude, there's like a special, the design community on X and the build community on X.
I realized the time change when you went live. Dude, you're all good. Go live whenever you want, buddy. Go live whenever you want.
How dare you, bro?
But yeah, the production. I didn't get to watch that episode of Redesign. I tuned in for a little bit from my phone, but we've just been this week's been so slammed. But yeah, the production quality that Brett put together. I assume Brett put it together. Was really really nice. So I think Tommy, we got to step it up. You and I have been so like lackadaisy about the production quality of the show, but I think that not next week's episode, but the week after, we got to step it up big time.
We're switching some things up. The one thing that has been nice though is the time change kicked all of our guest hours to the second half, and I like that format more because I like us being able to talk and react to a lot of this. But now it is that second half of the hour, and we got our boy Jhey Tompkins.
We got him. Here he is.
Lying in wait, man. Lying in wait. What is up, dude?
I think my ears were burning.
How you doing, man?
Jhey?
Let me just talk the gain out on this. I think that's right. I don't want to blow anyone's ears off. How's it going? You good?
Yeah, it sounds great, man. Heck yeah. Look at that setup he's got.
Yeah.
That's way better than yours, man.
It is. It is. I have one book. That's it.
No affiliate link today, huh?
No.
Jhey,
I don't know. My setup needs some work. Like it's pretty rough. My camera needs sorting out. And like,
can I ask you this? Can I ask you this story before we even get into anything behind the bear? When did it start?
I wish I had a good answer, but I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of just came about from. So this is a bit of time travel. We've kind of skipped all over. So yeah. So before I did any socials or anything, like most of my career has been like freelance and like contracting, and when I started out contracting and stuff, I needed a company set up. So, and being a cheapskate, especially back then, I was like, right, I need a logo, and I need something like a name. And I just always like bears. I'm a big fan of Wolverines, but
big Wolverine guy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna learn. I'm just gonna like I don't really want to pay a designer. I don't know, so I'm just gonna learn SVG. And I just started with like SVG, and then I was like, let me see some cool like bear images, and then like the original was like heavily influenced by the Jhey bear, right? Like from whichever album that was, where it was like shooting through the sky kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I had like the original avatar I had was do I have it? I must have it on something. Really? Okay, that's embarrassing. Normally I have like a key ring or something with it on. No, my keys are downstairs.
Did I saw the remote hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I almost bought remote. I was
well, you'd have had to ship me some hats.
Yeah, man. I ultimately passed, but now I'm regretting it. Now that I see,
I have a bunch of them. Like, there's a whole hat thing going on here. So we have like the Make the Logo Bigger hat, the Passion hat, the Vassell hat.
Yeah, maybe a missed acquisition opportunity for me there. But,
yeah,
whatever.
Jhey, I described you in that video as like what you get when you put a sneaker designer with like a front end developer, and I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but to me that was a really accurate way to describe how cool your creations are, and so like your background, dude, it started as a developer before you really got heavy into any of the design stuff. True.
I really need to. All this shows me is that I need to curate what I put on CodePen because that looks rough.
Well, that's there are more examples here of just this was truly like I went through and I played with a lot of these, and I love this, and it speaks to the fact that like there was a day when I was pretty involved in kind of this CodePen community that and you were like you've been here for a hot minute, dude.
Well, this kind of actually it kind of leans into that story. So I didn't really finish. So the because I couldn't find a freaking sticker, which is annoying. But yeah, this bear, like I don't even know if I can zoom my camera in, but basically there's a bear here that used to be the original logo I had, right? And actually it's on my CodePen profile. It's like all the bear heads that are dropping down. So like that was like the original. And I didn't do social media before like the pandemic hit. So when it hit, I just needed an avatar and I just used that for like a long time.
Yeah.
And people knew me from that and not this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so that's how people knew me. And then CodePen was like a coincidence because I can't remember who I was speaking to about this the other day. Someone else asked about this. They were like, why CodePen? It was purely because I used to just build random stuff and then I used to write about it in like on Medium because I thought, oh, if people check me out for freelance, maybe they'll be like, oh, he's wrote about stuff, so he knows things, you know. So, but to embed demos on Medium, you needed a CodePen account, and I was like, I don't really want to create. Well, okay, I'll create an account, and it's just become like a thing, right? So it's like I didn't think anything of it, and then like I'd go on site. I've been on site like a couple of times, and people have been like, "Oh, I saw your demo on the front page," and I'd be like, "What are you on about? Like, I don't." And then that's when I found out that like they actually create the things, they pick them, and like
right,
you know, one thing led to another, and then it became more of like a reputation of like this crazy guy that just builds demos all the time.
Well, it seems like you don't really use the CodePen anymore. You're using a lot of I mean, X is where you're working these days, huh? Like X is where you're shipping your work these days, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I put most stuff on CodePen. It ends up there. But I got a little, I don't know, not so like, I don't know how to put it. Some of the stuff I like put up, but I don't post it there. I keep it private for a while because I went through a stage where literally I was getting ripped off by everyone, which is fine because I don't put that stuff out there to be like, oh, that's my thing. Like you can't like the whole driver for a lot of these things that I've built over time, and there's like thousands of demos on there, is I want to learn how to do something and then I just put it out into the open, like because I thought it was cool or something. Like it's always about solving a problem for me. And then but what happens is I would put stuff out there and then people like there was a particular spell of time where people just like rip the whole thing, change like one color, and then like I'm just like I don't really I do have an Instagram account, but I don't really post a lot. Or, you know, it's literally my outlet to just doom scroll reels. But I'll be scrolling reels and then like I'll be like, wait a minute, this is familiar, and it'd be like my stuff, and it's just someone else being like, here's how you do it, and I'm like, what? So I stopped like really pushing a lot of them. Some of them I push up there because like I like to see if like they make the top 100 of the year. Like that's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't really put so much of an emphasis on the fact that they're there now. I still put them there, but they're all in GitHub tucked away.
What's the when I first started, so I also first started as a developer and really lived deep in the CSS of things. I loved the interactivity, like creating it with code. Nowhere near this level. Like you do some amazing work, man. But the thing that really held me back and made me appreciate when Sketch came out was it's very difficult to explore like multiple iterations in the browser. And I hated that. I hated designing or exploring UI in the browser. But it looks like, it seems like you just probably have a general idea and you just go deep into it. What do you do? Do you do iteration? Like, how do you think about like, what's your process for crafting up some of these super intricate interactions?
It's kind of, it's like hard to like bottle it up, right? Because then if I just say what first comes to my mind, people are gonna be like, oh, this guy, he's just like a but
Now you have to say it now. You have to say
yeah,
it.
so like the first thing that would come to my mind is like I look at it and I just go, yeah, I can do it, and like I just do it. Like,
yeah, well, that's fair.
But that's not happened overnight, right? Like people take that soundbite now and be like, this guy's just a big head. But but like it's like a, you know, like it's a decade of doing this stuff. Like it doesn't happen overnight, you know, like I learn these APIs and I go down rabbit holes and I learn these things like inside out. And then I still find out new stuff. You know, I still find out new things. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize I could do that with it. And then you see all these like little things, and you know, it just compounds. It just compounds and compounds over time. And you're like, well, I remember I did that for that thing, and I pluck that bit out. But I don't know, like I guess I got a kind of weird brain for remembering a lot of this stuff.
So you'll take like an existing spec and you'll just open the editor and just start going to work on it. Are there times where you're creating like because some of these, I mean, aren't spec'd out, right? Some of these are things that you've just like you've put together. Where do you just like have a vision and you're like, that's what it's going to look like, and I know what I need to do to make it happen, and it's a pretty point A to point B thing?
In terms of like in terms of how the thing looks or how the thing works?
How the well, we'll talk about how it looks first. Like for example, I wanted to find like this is probably pretty straightforward to some degree. There's a little experimenting, I've got to imagine. There's and I could be wrong on that, but like this, for example, right? And this thing opens up and has all kinds of internet, like this right there. At some point, that lived in your head. I mean, what did you do to think about what that would look like?
This was a curious one because this is David Hill's design that they did for the Laravel site, and then someone else had built something like this in a completely different way. And I saw it, and I was like, it's got to be 3D perspectives, and it's got to be exploded, and I need to be able to spin it. And when I asked, like, I was like, oh, so did you do it like? And they were like, no, I didn't do it like that. And I was like, oh, so I better do it like that. So that's what happens. I'll just be like, oh well, because I've done like a lot of I went down. So my entrance into like learning styling and stuff is, I don't know, kind of backwards. I saw CSS as I don't know what the first thing I must have seen was, because my first memories of like learning it is 3D and animation instead of like setting a background color, you know? Right. So I went about it all. So it's like my first creations are ugly as hell. From like, I still have some of them, and they're so horrible, but functionally they're like, oh, it's doing like some 3D thing, or it's like, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool, but it looks horrific. It really looks like a middleware engineer made it. Probably worse than that. So like something like that, I mean, I see it and I kind of, I kind of know where I'm going to go with it already, because it's kind of laid out for me.
With you had posted this in response to people who were dropping like, hey, prompt this design into existence, and so people were doing that, and you kind of come in and you're like, actually, like, here's a manually coded version of that, just in case you want to see how that could look, which I thought is a funny thing to do, especially because you work at Vercel, very AI forward. I don't think you were trashing. I don't know that you were trashing it. How do you feel about AI, man? And how do you feel about its role in helping front-end engineering and helping designing UIs?
Well, this one in particular was, I did this for Figma config. This was like my open demo, because I was trying to get the point across of like, when you look through, I don't know, it surprised me actually. More people have seen that than I expect, but how I open that is, I show the meme of like the guy sweating trying to build it. Like the toggle, and then
he's like jamming and the songs in the background.
And then I'm like, well, here it is. And then the next slide I show is like, like the Peter Parker checking the specs thing, and like he's putting the specs on, and it's just a button like with no styles, because that's literally what it is, right? Like you got to see through whatever the aesthetic is, like, and I guess that's how it, like, people joke like about like you look at something and you see like the Matrix rain, or like I see everything in CSS, but like genuinely, like I'll look at a design and I'm not even thinking about the shadows. Like the first thing I think of is, all right, oh, it's a button and this needs to change, and like that I'm always function over aesthetic first. So like I'm always thinking like, okay, right, how does that work? Like, can I hit it with the keyboard? How's the screen reader going to do it? How's everything going
Yeah.
to work? And then I paint it, right? Like I build the house, then I wire it up.
You
Yeah.
view
and
the
then
world in a red lined box model. That's everything for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Dude, the little bear on that toggle is such a fuck you. It's just such a when the little bear comes, it's just so good. I think you
heard that.
did one of our buttons. Let's scroll for just a sec, Tommy. I think Jhey did. Keep going.
Yes,
Woo.
post a bit.
Where
This-
are we at?
oh.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
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 These are I love this kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
so this is
Yeah.
this is the kind of stuff I love because I think like it's funny because it's like it's like the foundation of like markup, but then it's also like how long do you want to sit and do these shadows for?
Yeah.
Which is
How many lines of code did this take you?
this is I've done one of these. This is like so if you look there, Peter's done
Petter came in with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Petter shared the code pen when he made it.
That's
yeah.
right. That's
so
right.
like his approach is different to mine. So like when I would dig into that, like he would go about it differently. And I think that's one thing that's like really interesting. And I kind of like that side of it. Seeing so I gave a talk at CSS Day like the year before last, but like they did someone gave a talk and did like all about like the math behind like doing sine wave and kind of like doc animation style stuff. And like it was interesting to see like they'd gone in deep, and I presented like a similar thing as like a flash as part of my talk, and it was like I'd gone about it a completely different way, you know. I think that's always like fascinating to see. So like for something like this, like I can't remember the exact details of how he had done it, but I remember looking at it and thinking like, I'd probably tackle that slightly different, or I might use like a slightly different background structure or something to build it, and just go about it in a slightly different way. Like I tend to lean a lot into like using like custom properties and scoping things like in a binary sense, and then just transitioning everything because I just find it easier to like operate on. But
you know what drives me nuts, man, is when buttons are able to be highlighted, like the text in buttons is able to be highlighted.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I always turn that shit off. It just feels like a stupid detail to me that
that one seems to come up a lot lately. But yeah, classic,
is that a take that's going around? That's
use a
fun.
select none, right? Use
I want to know though, like, what the hell do you actually do at Vercel? That's what I want to know. Like, what do you actually do? Because it seems like all you do is make dope shit, and that drives clicks to Vercel. What do you do?
I mean, I wish that was what I was doing. Yeah, like it's actually funny. Actually, I had a call with someone. Was it last week or the week before? And like we hadn't had a one-to-one before, and their assumption was that like I literally come in like a web platform advocate, and I just got to work on all the cool stuff I do or whatever, and just like, but no, I work on actual like Vercel stuff. So like the last thing I would have shipped would have been I rebuilt the mechanics and like the structural kind of architecture of the sidebar on the doc site, which sounds hella exciting, right? But that's the kind of stuff I do. Like all this other stuff is just me on the outside, just like I don't know, just continually doing it. Maybe one day I'll like monetize it and make myself free.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Maybe.
So, I mean,
so for
dude,
example, if I'm looking at like AI SDK, right, like that sidebar, that was you.
If you go to like
Jhey
vercel.com/docs, that's the one that was like recently I redone or redid. But then I will share like little pieces. So like yeah, this one there's like, and it wasn't like this when I handed it over, so it's been like changed up because I guess I love doing all the visual stuff, but like actually solving like DX problems is something I'm really into as well. And there was like, yeah, building this was quite interesting because a lot like sidebars are not straightforward. There's always a lot to them. But there's cool little tricks here.
Yeah, as you guys are building these things now, like, are there new considerations or patterns that you guys are thinking about in terms of how, like AI is going to come in and index this when you're making like a docs call, like, check at docs for Vercel. Like, is there any consideration that you guys are having to make to how that changes the implementation?
I don't know. I don't dig too deep into that,
Fair enough.
I love that. I fucking love that. Dude, you guys are just working together as a cracked team on like different things. How much as far as like the culture of Vercel, how much like is there do you guys like as just like a team that is clearly design engineering forward and you guys tinker on a lot of interesting stuff? Do you guys have like dedicated playtime on, for the company?
I mean,
Or hackathons? You guys do like internal hackathons or
yeah,
anything
I
like
think
that?
like that kind of thing comes up. I've not been on the design team for that long. I've been on it since like since January. Before then I was on the DX team. So, but kind of doing a similar sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts going on. There are some there. And the other side of it, it's a much bigger company than I think people think.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people, and like, I couldn't tell you what a lot of people are up to. I wouldn't have a clue. Like, I know
Right.
we did. I mean, the thing that gets shared publicly, right, is that like we have a demo thing every Friday, and normally there's some pretty wild stuff going down in there. What people are building, but yeah, like everyone just sort of gets to work on interest and stuff, right?
Yeah. What do you think about all this hackathon culture or hackathon fever type stuff going on right now on X between all the AI coding jams and game jams and things like that? Are you into that? You think that stuff's pretty beneficial and positive? Do you think it's just kind of noise?
I mean, if I had a mute button for AI generated Minecraft clones, I'm all over it. Like that's a sassy take, I guess, but I genuinely I think it's fascinating. Like my take on, I don't know, my broad take on the AI stuff is like, yeah, cool. Like it's enabling people to prototype things and like kind of like rapidly see what's possible in some cases. But I can't remember who summed it up really well. It might have been Adam.dev. I think he had a post and it was like, it's like 80%, it get you like 80% of the way, but then there's still 80% of the work to go. Like it summed up something like that. And I was like, yeah, that is pretty like key. And I don't know, like I probably like completely shoot myself here, but the way I see it is like there is some fascinating stuff being done, and I think some of them are great like assistant like workflows, and I think it's really cool to be able to like dip in and be like, you know what, I want to know how to build a shader for this. But a lot of it comes from stuff that is out there, right? It's already been done. Like that's why it's able to do it. It's already happened. Like, when I see someone say like, oh my God, I made Flappy Bird. Well, yeah, of course you did. Because like the mechanics have been like out there for somewhere to scrape it. And then it's just like tying the things together, which is awesome. Like, but there's always going to be a room for people to like dive deep, pioneer stuff, to innovate it. Like, and I can't remember who was saying it. Like, yeah, it's great. You could build a AAA game or whatever with Free.js, but the person who knows that thing inside out is going to be a hella quicker and do a better
Yeah.
job probably. But it's only going to get better, right? Like we've only seen that in like the last however long. Stuff's got a lot better, but then you're still seeing like, I still see people like, they'll be like, oh, I gen this thing, and then like, sweet, let's have a look, and then it's like, great, div roll button, like that classic, and I'm like,
So safe to say you probably don't make a ton of use of AI in your daily driver tools, no?
no, I
What
use
are
it.
what is your stack?
What for? Like just anything I
Just
build?
give me maybe a couple of things where your stack changes up.
If I build something like for myself, it's typically as almost as vanilla as possible. Like because it's just fast, right? Like I'll use I'll use Astro for stuff because I can just dip in. I know like I can island stuff up if I really need it. I'll use Tailwind for a lot of stuff, like, and not the vanilla for like some of the experiment, like most. So if I'm building a demo, it's just vanilla pretty much. And if I need some JavaScript like animation like control, I'll bring in GSAP, and that's like pretty much my go-to. If I'm building something like, you know, just a site or something, like I typically Astro it and then use islands where needed, because I like proper into like PSI scores and getting things really like fast. So I'll nerd out on something like I'll write my own image optimizer on the command line for when I deploy a site or something like that. That's the kind of stuff like I'll go down a rabbit hole, and I'll be like, right, I'll write a script that scrapes all the HTML files, works out the images, converts them with Sharp, re-uploads them, swaps the URLs out, and like so I don't have to pay someone else.
Right. So how much are you a performance geek at all? Like, do you not only like to make this stuff work, but are you like really trying to figure out how to make it performant?
Yeah, if I can. And I think like that there's an interesting side to this as well, which I think it's not talked about as much now because like hardware is so much better. But like typically like your composite animations for like CSS and stuff are it used to be like so hammered home, right? Just only use composited animations because everything. But now we see people do blurs, background, mask, animate, like everything. And I feel like it's just because silicon chips let us get away with it. But like I came through at a time where like my memories of people like Addy, Paul Lewis, people like that showing like how to build stuff in a performant way, like, and thinking of that first. So like, oh, we're doing a canvas animation or we're doing like a flip animation. We need to think about how we're going to like calculate the scales and go from one side to the other and use transforms and stuff. And like, I was proper into that. Like, I kind of love that, like going down that route and being like, because again, having kind of a backwards journey was let's do 3D CSS and now let's learn canvas animation at breakfast instead of, you know, learning about layout and stuff. Completely the other direction. But
what do you think about all of these? What do you think about like the rise of WebGL and like 3JS coming into a lot of, you know, mainstream interfaces? Like, how do you feel about that? Like performance wise and just like generally?
I love it. I wish I was better at it.
Are you, so you're pro using these technologies in like daily interfaces?
I think they're great. I think, but yeah, I think there's a trade-off. I think there's one thing where it's like, I don't know how you feel about this, but like where it just feels like it's shoehorned in for the sake of being in. I remember I had a talk with someone. They were like founding a company. They showed me the page, and it was like all galaxies and WebGL, and I was like, so what's the product?
Right.
Like, what does this tell me about what, like, and there is that danger, I feel like, with a lot of design, right? It's just like in there to be like, whoa,
just a gimmick, right?
And it's like, well, did it tell a story? Was it worth all that resource to just build this WebGL thing that people are going to scroll straight past because they just want to like sign in or see the pricing section? Like, and there's like that trade-off, right? It's like the one thing that always sticks is like that whole line of like the best animation is the one that goes unnoticed, because it's like subtle touches that are like, yeah, that was great, but I didn't even notice it until you told me like to actually look for it, and now I appreciate it instead of like like so someone did like this is a few years ago, it was on like a live stream. I can't remember if I was just watching it, but someone I know that has done a lot of like CSS animation and stuff is David Shaw and David Corshi, and I can't remember if they were referring to GSAP, but it always stuck with me. But it's like trying to be like Michael Bay in the browser. Like, it's a bit of
that's a good I like that metaphor. Yeah.
But the irony is, like, I did build an Optimus Prime once, but you know.
You did like a CSS JS Optimus Prime. I don't think I've seen that one. That's funny.
Yeah, there's like it's a full 3D toggle. The story behind that is kind of horrific. In the sense of I had this idea that I was gonna present. I said to myself, if I spoke at CSS Day, I would present and build this 3D Optimus Prime as one of the demos, because I just had it in my head that I could do it and I could build it. And yeah, I sat down for like 8 hours straight and just built this the day before the flight.
This is just HTML and CSS.
Yeah, painfully.
That's fucking crazy.
Hold on,
And
you
then-
think you can do this in Webflow?
Yeah, just copy paste. Like but yeah, and then the whole idea was like I built that, and then I voice activated it for the stage. So yeah, when I was on the stage, it was like Autobots, and then it activated and then roll out, and it would transform and play like the 1986 soundtrack over the top, which was kind of cool. Like it was kind of a cool moment to have it actually work on stage. And
That's
yeah,
wild. And you did this in 3 hours?
Huh?
You did this in 3 hours?
No, it took me like about 8 of like sitting there and hating my life.
just the Peter Griffin metaphor. Yeah.
I do that one. I usually do that one at the end of talks, because I built like another demo where it's like you do a scroll and the slide, the shutters go up, and then Peter's face is behind.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that's insane. I love that even this Optimus Prime, you did the same thing with the button. It's just that subtle little like fuck you at the end, to where I can click and he'll animate, open them up again. But then you've got the wrist that just keeps turning, the head that's turning.
It's trying to do the cool.
Yeah. Just those little tiny things are just like that extra polish of detail, even after the ridiculousness of the animation. And
his head moves, and he does the little. That was like, yeah. I mean, I don't know why I do it to myself. On some conference talks, I have the idea and then I procrastinate because I know I need to do it, but I know I can, but part of me doesn't want to, because I know it's going to be painful. And this was probably one of the greatest examples. Just literally being like, I need to fly to Amsterdam tomorrow. I'm going to do this. And yeah, no sleep, just straight through. And then my wife was like, what's going on? Is it done? And yeah, it panned out. So
how much of your week or month, or what's your frequency? How often are you in the editor?
It's too much.
Yeah, is it like I'm working today and then like I'm gonna get off work and then I'm gonna be back?
It's literally like if I don't have anything on, this is my night shift. Like it's that bad, unfortunately. I do have a life outside, but like if I don't have anything planned, I'll so easily slip into, I could build that, or I got this thing I could build. Like my bookmarks is just horrific. Like my whiteboard, I've got a whiteboard here, and it has just endless like little notes of like things to build or things to write about. Like I've got like calendar split flap, the many ways to animate a border, scroll to type, ASCII reels, filtering, table
Are those
styling.
like intentional things with due dates, or are those just ideas and you just kind of grab one and work on it when you feel?
Yeah, they're just out there. Like I've got some drawings and stuff that
I love that idea. So can I see that board? I was thinking about doing this. Something. So Hunter does the analog notes, like the to-dos, and I was like, I need it in my phone. But I was like, you know what I want? I want a board where I just write like some fleeting idea, sticky note it, and put it up. And then one day I just walk up, I grab one, and I work on it.
So it's quite clear at the moment. Like it's not got loads on it, but it has like, so it's all kind of, these are all newsletter ideas, really. So these are all like craft the UI, table styling.
That's the craft of UI Substack you have,
filters, anchor. What's that? Anchor tabs, call to action scrolling, anchor flipping, responsive type, hover products, has tricks, some
All
kind
you
of
all
like,
you need, you just need an analog card that says next.
that's nice.
You
That's
know,
nice.
that's all you need.
Yeah.
Shout out, Jeff Sheldon.
Yeah.
Well, I
yeah.
have like, so I underneath the other laptop. So I do use a Remarkable that I have like I built like a little template for, where I like have like a little checkbox list and stuff where I keep stuff in. But the problem is that I end up with too many ideas to fill the page. So, and I
Do you,
haven't
do
found
you
a good way
illustrate a
to
lot of
manage it.
your do you illustrate a lot of rough ideas sometimes?
It depends what I'm building. So some stuff like I need to, like, so for
Mhm.
some things like I feel like I wonder if I've got any in here. I'm also terrible at like just wiping them out and being like, yeah, I don't want to see that again. See if I've got any. So yeah, like, I mean, these look a bit too polished for me, but I'll just like scrub stuff in, or I'll be like, yeah, this looks a bit better. This is a bit messier.
Was the Remarkable pad? I've looked at these before. Was this a pretty good buy?
Yeah, to be fair, like I love it. It's just, do you know what, it's the worst thing to open this though, because I've just seen something in here that I have like built 80% of, but never finished it, and now I'm like,
Oh, you've got to have, I imagine, a lot of those. Are you mostly front end? Do you do back end too? Are you big on back end side?
so I used to, I mean, not like, I guess this opens up another like hot take discussion. I used to a bit of Node, but it's whether people like consider that real backhand.
Right.
Like I see
haven't-
people out there like saying,
I
"Oh,
have-
it's not real backhand," but
It's so funny. I haven't thought about Node in a while. Like 10 years ago, it was just Node this, Node that. Now, you never hear anybody talk about Node.js anymore.
I love it. I love Node. I used to be like,
Love the
yeah.
Node.
Yeah, I just like build random stuff, like just little tools for local stuff. But now we have
Yeah.
we have good stuff, right? Like Raycast and things like that, where you can just build an extension and do these things.
Yeah.
Like it is just write like loads of just Node scripts to run stuff on the machine. Like I have a Node. I still use one, to be fair. I don't use it often because I don't set up a new machine all the time. But like I wrote one that did like a whole set up my machine or install everything, do everything. So like every time I just clone it from Git, run it, boom, and it's like every time I change Mac, it's super easy. But yeah, I got kind of like bullied. Well, not bullied into that, but I remember earlier in my career, I did a contract for someone, and I basically got shamed for not having all my dot files version controlled. So I basically went away that night and wrote an entire Node package and system for doing it.
I'll show you.
It's like, oh, you've triggered me now.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Yeah.
I was going to ask, and sorry, I just wanted to know, when you start working on something, let's say it's something production, it's not necessarily just like a playground project, and you want more freedom on the design, so you're maybe not going to lock yourself into Tailwind necessarily. What do you bring in? Like, do you bring in any sort of baseline CSS, like grid stuff? Like, what are your bare minimums when you're in that situation?
Bare minimum is just a blank page, right?
Yeah. I was curious. So, like, you really don't bring in any sort of grid system or any type scale,
I'll do
anything.
it all from scratch. I don't mind doing that. Like, I feel just as quick doing that. The problem I have is like I bring in like a base reset or something, but like the problem I have a lot of the times, if I try and bring something in, then later down the line, am I going to end up fighting it anyway? So like sometimes you end up spending more time battling. I think like features have made this a lot easier. Like layer featuring makes that a little better, and like scoping when I'm not sure it's fully browser supported yet. Like that is one that kind of helps a little bit, but I try and keep things as small as possible. Just because I know how bloated style sheets can get all of a sudden. So like Tailwind's a good one, but I always think it's one of them. It's interesting that it's kind of pitched in an interesting way in the sense of I think people miss the ultimate USP of it, which is that it is a great mechanism for generating style sheets.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily have to use all their theming, right? Like it's just what people go for because it looks nice and they're sensible defaults. But if they'd have turned around and said like, hey, you can't use this until you've created a theme, like people might see that power of it more, like it might be more apparent. Like, because if you've ever built like a site from scratch and you're not using anything, and then you get to the end and you're like, let's hammer the performance out, you'll be thinking like, damn, these style sheets take a long time to load, or like these are the things that are blocking me, or like I'm getting layout jumps and stuff. And then it goes down to like, well, now I need to actually like architect all these style sheets and work out what's going on and what things are critical and whether I'm loading them. Hey, am I repeating too much here? And maybe this is a utility. And that's what you get abstracted away from, right? Like that's like the bit, like to me, that's such a killer feature of Tailwind, is that it abstracts all those decisions away. Like you're out of that. Like you don't have to think about it. And it's kind of funny actually, like my wife was doing a site recently, and it was like a legacy site. And
hold on, your wife was doing a site?
Yeah, so she works for a company called Igalia. And they're like I will get it wrong, so I'll probably
is she also front end
engineer?
No,
Yeah.
she's more, so they're an open source consultancy and like development, but they do a lot of like web platform stuff, right? Like they build stuff for the browser. So like APIs and things. I can't remember what the one is that I wonder if she can hear me. Steph. She can definitely hear me, but she chooses.
But so just confirm this. So you and your wife are like nerding out on this stuff together.
Sometimes.
Okay.
But I can't remember.
Look, put it this way, way more than me and my wife are.
Well, yeah. So like that's kind of, yeah. So to cut that story short, basically she was like doing a load of legacy styles, and she was like, oh, this is a nightmare because like it's all like repeating. I was like, just nuke it and Tailwind it. Like all those decisions are gone. But yeah, like we're pretty nerdy in this house because out of the blue, like we met at a tech conference. And I spoke after Steph, and then yeah, the rest is history. And funny enough, I was at Google at the time, and Steph was at Microsoft, and we actually were working on the same thing. So like, it just ended up that we met at a conference, but we were actually in the same like telecom meetings. It's just like, wow, this is kind of strange. But yes, Steph works on. She's mainly done like designing and like managing. But she dabbles and does things. She knows how to build stuff. She wrote a thing the other week, actually, going back to the AI. She tried to get GPT to do something and then got me to verify it. And correct it.
Was GPT right?
That's correct. Can you come and check this out?
Yeah.
Are you, so do you make use of Figma at all? Like, is there ever a point in your time in your process? Yeah. So you're big into Figma too.
Yeah, I love it. I wish I'd spend more time in it, to be honest. Yeah, I actually love it. I probably don't use it to its fullest, because I'm very like, I guess it's one of them, right? It's like I'm kind of scatty in the tooling, but the quickest way for me to deliver something is just to build it, like, and design it in the browser. But like a lot of, like, I love like creating illustrations and things that I need to use. So like if it's like making icons or like, you know, messing around with a bear and stuff like that, or like I don't do as many of them anymore because I haven't had like many of those kind of designs pop up. But a lot of like, you know, if I open my Figma just to see what's in there, to be honest.
Can we see how messy your Figma looks?
So rude.
Yeah, I know. Show us everything.
I need to log into it. I haven't opened this.
And you've heard of this Figma MCP server for Cursor? Well, you don't use any of these AI, so you have no interest in this at all.
Yeah, I don't
even playing with it. You don't even play with them.
I don't do a cursor or anything like that. I find a lot
Do
of
you
the
use
time
do you use
it
do you use
hampers me.
V0?
I do for some things, but they're typically like I want to see how it handles things. Like it's like it sounds weird. It's like I'm not like I'm testing it, but I'm like, let's see what's going on. Where are you at? Because typically for like if I don't want to end up like prompting my way down a rabbit hole and then being like, like, and now I'm an hour in and I could have probably done this already. And that's what frustrates me.
It happens to me all the time. It happens to me all the time, man. It's something I'm learning to learn my way through.
And I find that tough. Like I need time to sit and like, I don't know, like it's great if you can get into a good flow of like doing one thing and then dipping in and prompting and then just disappearing and coming back again. Like I feel like it's kind of good, but I struggle. Like funny enough, we mentioned the Flappy Bird the other day. I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna prompt my way to like 3D Flappy Bird. Right, let's see what it can do. And after about an hour, I was like, it's just not getting it. Like it's not understanding what I'm trying to do. But I can see what it needs to do. It's just like, but I don't want to spoon feed it. Like I want it to.
If you're gonna
So
go to the extent of spoon feeding it anyway, you might as well do like the extra 20% work of just writing it yourself.
yeah, like you may as well
Yeah.
just
Is
do it.
is that right though, or would it be? I guess just to push back on that out of curiosity, like would it be more sensible to just say, "Hey, I'm going to spoon feed it via rules, right? Exactly the approach that it should take from a rules perspective, and then see if that accelerates the process versus having to sit there and bash it all out by hand."
I think. Well, if the thing is, if you're spoon feeding it though, you've probably already bashed it out by hand, right? So like this kind of reminds me of those ones where
I mean,
it's
it
like
depends on how much, but yeah.
it reminds me of these kind of where people go like they'll be like, hey, look at this thing I created, and you go and have a look and the prompt is them copy and pasting the entire shader code into the prompt, and what the AI did was just do all the boilerplate WebGL like setup and make it possible to show the shader. You know what I mean? Like the magic was already created, but you put it around a wrapper and everyone went, whoa, but you actually did it elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that to me, like I think it's fascinating that it can do this stuff, but then at the same time, I'm like, why not just show me the shader? Why not just let me celebrate that? Because I think I think a lot of people's work like gets not discredited, but like I would rather just see that original thing being shared and let me celebrate that.
You think it loses some of the value of the human effort that it took if you're having AI showcase it?
Potentially. I think some of the things are really cool where people will be like, I took the shader, I threw it in, and then it showed me like ways to configure it, and I was able to like mess with it and turn it into this. I think that's like amazing. And I think like being able to put that in like designers' hands so they can like trick around with it and be like refine it is like that's so good. Like, but it's kind of it's not niche, but it's like you could probably like it is very good at that, and it's like a particular use case. Like it's almost like shader to configurator.com, you know.
It's like it's a little sidekick interface for just how to manipulate some of the underlying technology. It's just a quick little thing. Yeah, but I love those too, man.
And I think that's super cool, like because it just like it kind of goes back to like so fish like shader stuff, right? People are like super good at the math and stuff to like come up with these things. But maybe it's like almost akin to the back end developer doing the front end styles in a weird way, like in a really scoped down way, right? The designer might not have the shader skill, but he can spot what he wants it to do. Whereas the shader guy's like, I've made it and it can do everything, but I'm not quite sure what I want it to do. And that little configurator piece, like the missing bit of gold that like makes it all tied together and happen. I don't know. Like
Jay, talking to you is lowering my blood pressure. It is so chill to listen to you break down these concepts. Chat's calling it out too. And
Oh, I didn't
Adrian
know. Where's
asked,
chat? Is there a chat on like YouTube?
there's a chat on the sidebar here. They've been hanging out with us. Adrian asked if you do any teaching. If I recall correctly, you've kind of been like working on a course for a while, have you not?
Yeah, it's like the never-ending will
The
he
never-ending thing one day.
one
Because
day, and
I would buy a course from you. I would
then I'll
sit
just
down and
disappear.
want to and take that course. I would want to
Yeah.
learn from you.
I'll just be. I've now opened the comments. Sorry, that's why I'm distracted.
Jay's like,
and I
oh
just read
shit,
that
there's
one.
people here.
Yeah, this is live. There are people here.
Damn it! I thought this was recorded. We're gonna polish it up in post.
Oh no,
No.
We're
Yeah.
dirty.
Yeah, headwinds.
Yeah, like I've had people ask me to build a course platform thing and do for years now, and it's like not an exaggeration. It's like I get requests often, and I appreciate it a lot. Like I'm over the moon that people would be interested in that, and I want to do it, but it's like it's a lot.
It's
right. Like,
it's hard
It's not
work.
like I can't make it happen overnight, and I don't want to like I don't want to do it for the sake of like this is like
Opportunity.
my course pitch, right? This is how I see it in my head, is like I don't want it's not like a cash grab or like a here's like I don't know, like pretentious content for you to
Yeah.
do this sort of thing with. Like I want to try and like create something that's like how I would want to consume it. And for me, that's like it's got to be pretty to the point. And it's like, here's how you do a thing, and here's the techniques you use, and you can take it and do stuff. I'm not going to tell you like, oh, you need to acquire taste, because everyone's taste is subjective, right? Like, but I'll show you how to build whatever you see and like take that. And it's kind of like the art of problem solving, to be able to like look at a design and be like, I can build it, and have that confidence. That's what I want to like bottle up and give to people somehow. Like that's been like my goal, like with trying to work something out. And I think like in a V1 is essentially do modules of like, you know, CSS animation, doing things like this, and then doing like a kind of use cases, the classic like, here's how you go through like building this demo, and you piece these bits together. But then also having like a horizon kind of section, which is like, here's how you build stuff with stuff from the future that's not quite here yet, but like like that kind of stuff. And then it's got to be like concise, because I don't look at courses and I don't watch tutorials, and I need it to be how I would consume it, which is just give me the bit I need. You can tell me a bit about it, and if I want to watch a video, that's great, but I just want it so I can go build it. And that's how
you want to go use it. Yeah.
Happen.
Yeah.
Because I've never been able to consume stuff like that. My attention span is woeful. All through college, my I found very quickly that I couldn't sit in lectures. So what I would do is I would download the course notes months in advance, wake up every day. Let's say I'm in student life, right? Like closer to midday than to 8 a.m. Big bowl of crunchy nut, go through the notes at my own speed, be done by like 4. And that's how I did college. Just like I paid the tuition, but I never actually really went. And I just turned up for the exam. So it's too late now. They can't come after me. But yeah, that's how like, I just want you to give me the info so I can do what I want with it. And that's kind of how I go about it. Like I can't sit and watch people type out characters line by line to learn something. It's just not for me.
Well, if the day comes where you finally release something, I will be on the lookout for it for myself, but I'll also be happy to promote the absolute hell out of that, because I think a lot of people could learn from you.
It's 100% like will happen. It's just, you know what? It's just like one of them ones where I'm like, for the last few times I've thought about it, I've not known where to go with it, and I've not really known like what it is and how to cover it. Because people have been like, "I'll just do a CSS animation course," but I don't want to pigeonhole and like niche myself down, because that's not what I do, right? I kind of like do whatever I see. I go off and find out how to solve it. That's what's helped, and I think the idea of being able to like bottle that up so people can use that in their own careers is what I'm really interested in, like being able to just sort of like educate people to not be afraid of solving stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just being able to like go off and do it, because that's essentially how I've operated. And it luckily it's kind of worked out so far. But my end goal still is, if I could ever make that happen, I would just go full time on it and do it. And just, dip in and out of doing stuff like I was before. Because when I was contracting, and I would, do this for X amount of months and then go off and do something else for a bit. But I never had the course target set up when I would take those breaks. So I was just chilling. Just chilling, playing video games, wasting my days.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, with the last couple of minutes, dude, I really appreciate you joining us. I've been looking forward to just chatting and meeting you for a minute here. So thank you for coming on. And I know, I mean, the chat's been popping off here. Who I like to know, because you're someone I look to for a lot of the great work you're doing, but who are you looking at and you're like, dude, these people are cracked that we should maybe be following or know about? He's tough. Like, I don't follow anyone, I don't do anything, I just live in the editor.
Yeah, you know what, like it's kind of tough, because my like that kind of goes, I guess that kind of goes down the route of like, where does your inspo come from and stuff. And this sounds really sad. I use do you use the Muesli extension?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I haven't touched that in a long time.
I use that, and I just open a tab and I'll just scroll through and be like, cool. And then I will just scroll through X and I just bookmark things that I think, yeah, that looks, I could probably build that. And I don't really take much notice. I just see the visual and I'm like, bam. Unless it's somebody I know.
I bet your bookmarks are sick.
Sick to look at, make me nauseous. Yes. Because they're completely unorganized. I had this conversation with Pedro from Raycast at their hackathon, like, was it last week or the week before? They basically said like, oh, where do you store everything? I was like, oh, it's just all in bookmarks and it's not organized at all.
You don't have folders or anything, you just like bookmark and keep scrolling.
Yeah,
chaos.
Like someone I did a screen share the other day on a Slack call, and someone was like, how have you got so many tabs open in the browser? And I was like, this is only one window. Welcome to my life.
Oh no, dude.
Yeah. And it's like, it's hard. It's hard to focus. There's too much going on. But yeah, I guess I just kind of, I try not to live on the timeline too much. I try to just like dip in, bookmark some stuff, and then like dip out and try and take inspo from other places. Like I recently got back into like find a few minutes, play some video games, and like TV and stuff like that. Just like silly things, like stuff you see on an advert, or like the way stuff is built elsewhere is often like really good inspo for how to like go about doing things. Like recently, so what prompted my down the rabbit hole of like SVG filters recently was I played a lot of Balatro over the holidays.
Yeah.
And there's some really rad like effects in Balatro, and I was like, right, I must know how to build them. And that's where I'll go. I'll be like, right, I'm gonna learn it. But then that'll take you on a tangent and you'll do something else. So like through going down that path, I'll be like, oh sweet, now I know how to make like flames using noise and SVG filters and translates, and it looks all right. And then eventually that will become something else, and I can, so like I got some cool ones all based on like that game, and I'm like, oh, I learned so much from that. Or I don't know, you just go down,
dude.
I tangents.
I love it. It's just pure unadulterated curiosity. I love my favorite thing is that you're like, I'm just scrolling, I'm just looking at the visuals. You're not even thinking about like, oh, that looks great. Or like, oh, I love that you did this. You're literally just thinking, I could build that. Bookmark.
Yeah,
That's it.
I think that's a massive part of it, right? Is like that to me is the bit I'm looking for, like the challenge, right? I'm always after the challenge. It's never like if it becomes a point where it's like I'm doing it for internet points, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
a happy coincidence that some of the things that go out there and the techniques pick up people vibe with, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. I learned something. But a lot of the time, it's seeing something and being like, I must know how it is done.
Yeah. I think it's telling to me that you've built such a big audience just chasing the things that are interesting to you and then sharing those versus doing anything that's like, you know, engagement bait or trying to spark controversy. So
Yeah,
I appreciate the hell out of people like you, man. I appreciate how chill you are about the crazy shit that you're doing. And all of us out here looking at it and saying like, fuck, he's a madman. And you're just looking at it like trapped in your tiny little office being like, I could build that.
Yeah, man. Motivates
In
the
my
absolute
terrarium.
hell out of me, dude. Hey, Jay, really appreciate you joining us. Are you going to be at Config this year?
Unlikely.
Unlikely. Okay.
What date? It's like, is it May?
Like May 6th to May 8th. Yeah.
That was the last time I spoke.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that event.
I had a really good time too. I didn't get to meet you though. I think the last time I was there, but really happy to meet you today.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, like anytime. Don't worry about. Yeah, I'm pretty casual on time. I mean, time now is great for me because it's Friday evening, so I'm
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
So
We'll get you to come back. Or would you be down to come back and build
anytime.
something with us?
Yeah, cool. Anytime.
Like do
Alright,
do a small little build live, like to
Yeah,
have some
yeah.
fun, show the people like us
Yeah.
just dicking
Yeah,
around.
why not?
That'd be a good time.
Yeah, this is the first one of these I've done for a long time as well. So that's cool.
We try to
Thanks
keep
for
it
having me.
really casual and live stream, like because everything is so polished. And honestly, like your whole vibe and how much we're just getting into the weeds of it, that's exactly what we love to do, man. So well, good to have you,
I
Jay.
never did show you my Figma, but I did have a look at it and I thought, well, you don't need to see that, so don't worry.
All right.
I'll send you a screenshot of it.
Fair
We'll
enough.
get behind the scenes next time.
All
right, Jay, well-
but yeah, it's good vibes. Good to meet you both.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for having me. And
Hell yeah, Jay.
I'm sure we'll chat online anyway. So
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy,
got a demo to
enjoy
finish.
the weekend, man.
See you, sir. Dude,
What a mad lad.
I'm gonna get off of this. We are gonna chat with an interesting tool shortly after this. And then I'm gonna go and just like have a Jhey weekend, man.
Yeah, have a Jhey weekend. I might do the same.
That just like I'm like, freaking juiced up, dude.
That's awesome, man. Dude, this is great. He was a fantastic guest. I think we got a little too technical on some stuff for some people. That's okay. We're gonna keep pushing
I'm
those-
sorry if you guys didn't like
those
it. I
boundaries.
don't care. I
Yeah.
needed to know. I needed to.
None of us care. Again, this show is for us, not for you.
yeah. Why you guys tune in, I don't know, but we do appreciate it. We will be back next Friday. You're out of town next Friday. You around on Friday?
I'm not, man. I'm not. I'm driving back. The wife and babies are flying. I'm driving with the teenagers. So it's going to be an experience. But we're going to hop in the Raptor and do a little 14-hour stint.
Ooh, there you go, man. That's going to be awesome. Well, we'll miss you next week. We've got Seraphin, the creator of 21st.dev, joining us next week. I have so many questions about implementing interface components and that whole paradigm that's kind of centering around. I'm excited for that. We may have another guest with us too to fill in, but be prepared to listen to me and my mustache yap for a good 2 hours, guys, because it's going to be a good time. So
hell yeah.
We will see you then.
Love it.
Have a great weekend.
All right, man. See you, everybody.